Do you remember the 1992 cult classic Bebes Kids? That's not just today's topic, that's actually my question of the day. Do you remember Bebes Kids? Let me know in the comments, yes I remember, or no I've never heard of it. You have McGann, the Fangirl. Make sure you subscribe and check back every week for new fandom videos. Okay, this is an older movie about people of color, so I'm going to be doing a lot of prefacing before I start the theory, because honestly, when I don't, I end up with a lot of death threats. Like, a lot of death threats just for liking the movie. And I want to talk about this film as sensitively as I know how, which may be as subtle as a sledgehammer. We'll find out. For those of you who have no interest in watching this film, but you're going to watch this video anyways, oh, thank you. It's about this guy, Robin, who meets this girl that he's instantly attracted to named Jamika. Jamika makes it clear that if Robin wants to get to know her, he needs to plan some age-appropriate activities for her son, Leon. So Robin agrees to take them all to Fun World that Saturday. Problem is, when Robin shows up for the date, Jamika surprises him with 3 more kids. Bebes Kids, Khalil, LaShawn, and Pee-wee. And these kids are characterized as aggressive, destructive, and generally out of control. Really though, I always felt so bad for poor Leon. He's this well-behaved, sweetheart little boy who's getting picked on by these other kids non-stop. And he's an only child otherwise, so that has to suck to get surprise siblings to ruin your day. The movie is a little bit awkward, especially by today's standards, but in all sincerity, this cartoon does deserve a lot of respect. There's just not a lot of feature-length animated films that are aimed at adults with an all African-American cast. So this is an underserved niche for sure, and it's almost amazing that this movie got funded back in the 90s. I remember being so obsessed with Bebes Kids when I was like 7 that I threw this big Bebes Kids theme party and I drew out the kids with frosting on the cake, and I was just like, yes! I'm tired of being a repressed good kid. This is my life now! I could not explain to you what it was about that movie, but it was my world for that entire year it came out. And I remember it so fondly that when the Stars app popped up with Bebes Kids, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes! So I watched it again, and it hasn't held up great in the animation or the story department, but it is still pretty funny, so if you've got 72 minutes to spare, it's worth a watch. Go look it up. Now, I don't know if I was just too young to notice back in 1992, but Bebes Kids gets pretty uncomfortable to watch in a few places, which is where the analyzation of this movie is finally gonna kick off into high gear. As you may have guessed by the title of today's video, my ultimate question is whether or not Bebe's children are good or bad. The first issue I noted is that when Robin is driving into Fun World, before he even parks the car, security runs up to him and makes him step out of the vehicle. Like, why? Not one other person in the background is shown doing this, so it's straight profiling, which, if you don't know, is when you look at someone and based on something like a physical feature, you make assumptions about them. So you go, this guy is black and I think black people are criminals, so step out of the vehicle, sir. And that bothers me to see because that's not the America I live in, that's not my relationship with law enforcement, and that should be the same for everybody across the board. But if that moment wasn't what the heck enough, a few minutes later we see the Fun World security go after Khalil for, get this, stepping over to get a drink from the fountain. Just this whole group of security men show up and they start questioning him and if his hat is a gang sign. Like, wait a minute, that's not okay. No, 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 no. Little boy, leave him alone. Shouldn't be too much to ask. Now, I grant you, the movie does give us a really mixed message here, because almost as soon as you're able to feel outrage for this group and what they're going through, Bebe's kids turn around and start causing trouble. And it's not causing trouble in retaliation for the harassment, but they do things like throwing stuff in the store when they're more than old enough to know better. But at the same time, we also have to question, is that their fault? Because Robin and Jamika, who are the only adults in charge of this group, keep turning 4 kids loose in the park unsupervised, one of which is a baby in diapers. I couldn't tell you what theme park rules were back in 1992, but I know today at Disney parks you have to be 14 to be able to go around the park by yourself, and I don't believe one of those kids is older than 10, so it's really confusing to me if we're supposed to blame the kids for being bad, or the adults for not watching them, or the security guards for having this spidey sense that they would be troublemakers. The movie kind of makes it look like the security guards were right to profile the kids, and that just doesn't feel right either. What the heck, movie? I have no idea what to make of this message that you put out into the world. But as far as whether or not the kids are good or bad, I mean, yeah, they're horribly behaved, and again, it boils my blood that poor Leon gets bullied for being well behaved. But what I really want to know is, why are the kids so vicious? If you're not new here, you know we like to explore the whys of everything. Every good movie has motive, and through the movie we see things like Bebe never feeds her kids, so they're all but starving. They live in a place that's described as being one level from a crack house. It's actually being robbed when they pull up to it, so Bebe either has no money or she's spending it all somewhere else. It's not going to those kids. In the movie they actually say that Bebe went downtown, and that actually means really different things depending on where you live. Where I live right now, that means you're gonna go get milkshakes and pizza. When we lived in Oklahoma, it meant you were going to the mall. In El Paso, it meant you were gonna go shop at these specialty shops downtown. And when we lived in Atlanta, no, both fingers have to come up together. When we lived in Atlanta, going downtown meant you were going clubbing. So I don't know if there's supposed to be this assumed implication of what downtown means in terms of where Bebe went, but it seems to mean nothing good. Like she's just run out on her kids because she knows Jamika will pick up the slack. And the kids' issues go well beyond Bebe being their mom. Just existing day to day seems to be difficult for these kids. Like when LaShawn has to dig and dig to find a single doll that is the same color as her. And her reaction when she finds it, I mean, oh my gosh. It's the one time we see this tough girl break down her walls and get to be a little girl for like 5 seconds. But she doesn't have money, so of course she doesn't get to buy the doll to keep it. Plus, no one is changing that fly-attracting baby. Like, seriously, he starts the movie in a poopy diaper, and by the end of that movie, his diaper is leaking corn out into the floor of the car because it's so full. Robin keeps complaining, but neither he or Jamika ever change that baby. Seriously, it sounds like some funny joke you'd hear in a comedic routine, but to see that baby sit in his own ick for the course of an entire day is just flat out abusive. And you can't blame that neglect on Bebe when she's not even there. That's completely on Jamika and Robin. And I know it's a cartoon, this is supposed to be a gag, but what I'm doing today is trying to analyze whether or not the kids are bad. And to do that, I have to look at the entire situation that they're involved in. So yeah, it might not be a real baby, it might just be a silly little joke in a cartoon movie, but these kids didn't just become bad for no reason, and having no one to care about you enough to change your nasty diaper is definitely a contributing factor to your behavior. And then, after being nothing but a problem the entire movie, Khalil gets out of the car and almost sheepishly asks Robin,
"So where we going next week, Mr. Harris?"
Next week? Oh, I'll take you somewhere next week. I'll take you to a snake pit. Now go on, your mother's waiting for you.
Like, this poor kid is already getting attached to the only male figure to show him attention. Robin gets offended that Khalil even has the nerve to ask him anything like that, but then after going into their apartment and seeing how bad it is with his own eyes, he gives the kids some money to order pizza, to which Pee-wee tells them the pizza guy won't come here anymore. And Robin looks kind of like, oh man, you live in a bad situation in his face, but in his actions, he just tells them to lock the door behind him and leaves them sitting there alone, crying in the dark with their mother being who knows where, but she's not at home. Yes, Bebe is a terrible mother, and we have no idea what the father situation even is for these kids, except that they supposedly shot their dad for running away from them, which again was probably just a little joke, not something serious. But what kind of grown man is gonna walk in and see kids living like that, and they're all alone, and they're hungry, movie, and then he just walks away. Are these kids terrible because they're bad apples? Or are they terrible because everyone who's supposed to love, support, and protect them have just stepped right out of their lives? Because if it's the second option, they might as well act up and get the posers out the door quicker. No point in keeping some pretender around if he's not actually going to step up and help you. Man, I don't know. This ending boils me as a former foster parent. Just, ugh, how could you leave them there? For as much as I love this movie as a way too well-behaved kid looking for a rebellious outlet, now the whole film just makes me feel so sad for Bebes Kids. And the movie ends with nothing really changing. No one tells off Bebe or sets her straight. There's nothing going on to help fix the kids' living conditions. And the movie just glosses right over it all by having Robin take the kids on another excursion. Like that fixes the rest of their lives somehow. I don't know. Like I said before, I have a lot of trouble reading what they mean with this movie because they muddle up so many messages and do some really unusual things with the story. I invite you all to politely talk about it in the comments. I'm always willing to learn something new. And if there's elements to this movie that I don't get because I'm not the target audience, then I welcome information on it or even a debate on the merits of this film. Just, do it politely. We can all educate or disagree and still be kind to each other, but I'd love to get opinions on the film from other people who have watched it. Is this movie considered racist now? Is it thought of as authentic African American culture and film? Is it an accurate reflection of life in the US today? There's lots of things I can't answer on my own because, surprise, I'm so white I'm translucent. Will you ever recover from the shock? But seriously, I look forward to continuing this discussion about Bebes Kids in the comments. I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. Well, that's all I have for now, but this video's not quite over yet. I get a lot of comments that say, do a theory on this topic, but I've already done those theories. So please consider going to my main channel page and clicking on the video tab so that way you can see everything I've done. You will probably find a lot of things you like that you never even knew that I posted. I want to let you know that I also have two other channels, Say Halo Goodbye Gaming and the Fanily Family Vlogs. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed enough to hit subscribe and share. I can use all the help I can get to let other people know that this channel exists. And if you made it this far, leave me a comment that says something like, hey, I made it to the end, and then let me know what kind of videos you want to see in the future. I can't make any promises, but the more people that request something, the more I can look into it. Okay, well, I love you. I'll see you in the next video.